Hello, our lecture today is about perfect competition and the coal industry. Last time we talked about the different types of markets, and we said that there are four main types of markets. Monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, and perfect competition. And now we are going to start with the first type of markets, which is perfect competition and the coal industry. This chapter is divided into three main parts. Number one, which is related to coal industry and why it's considered to be a perfect competitive market. And number two is related to demand and supply and market equilibrium. And finally, number three is related to elasticities. Let's start with part number one, which is coal industry and perfect competition. Coal, coal is considered to be the most abundant and widely used fossil fuel. Coal was the fuel of a choice due to two main reasons. Number one, higher energy content. And number two, easily accessible reserves compared to a declining wood supply. In the 18th century, Great Britain produces 60% of the world coal, and it's followed by United States and Russia. In the 19th century, the United States increases its production of coal compared to United Kingdom. Coal consumption has been strongly tied to industrial production during this era. But consumption of coal declined during the period from 1913 to 1920, which is World War I. And this is followed by the Great Depression. Also, as a result, consumption fell once again. So consumption of coal decreases during two different periods. First, World War I, and second, the Great Depression. In the mid of the 1960s, oil consumption had passed coal consumption in all of these areas. areas of production, areas of exporting, everything. Okay, so this is considered to be the end of the importance of coal industry, as production during this period falls and also consumption falls. This can be illustrated graphically using a figure. This figure shows production of coal over the period from 1860 to 2010 in different countries such as UK, US, Germany, Australia, etc. For example, with respect to United Kingdom, which is the black one, this is United Kingdom, which is almost 60% of the production during this time period. But if you are going to look at for today, it's almost zero. So production of coal decreases in UK in the 1990s and 2000. Similarly, for all other countries, you can compare production during the 18th century and nowadays. Okay, let's move on to the next step, which is why coal is a perfect competitive market. What's meant by a perfect competitive market? First of all, to consider the coal as a perfect competitive market, we have to identify what is the main objective of the main players in this market. We have three main players in this market: consumers and producers and the government. All of them would like to make an optimal allocation of resources. So the decision makers want to make an optimal allocation of resources. So with respect to consumers, they would like to allocate scarce resources across competing uses. So they would like to choose, for example, between buying gasoline or blue jeans. Okay, so they would like to maximize their own satisfaction. While with respect to producers, they would like to choose between production of X and Y, any two commodities, using coal or oil, for example, or wood, for example. Okay, and they would like to maximize profits or minimize cost. And finally, with respect to the government would like to allocate resources between, for example, research and development or renewable resources, for example. So all of them would like to make optimal allocation of resources. What are the main characteristics of the perfect competitive market? Number one, free entry to the market and exit from the industry. Number two, large number of buyers and sellers so that no one of them can set the price, or all of them are price takers. Number three, free entry and exit. Number three, perfect information. Number four, products are identical to each other. In case of coal, this market is considered to be a competitive market or a perfect competitive market. Actually, the five main characteristics will be applied to the coal industry. Coal industry is considered to be ideal market or a perfect competitive market. Even if it is not actually the case, but we are going to assume that for simplicity. Actually, not every coal consumer is able to buy from every coal producer because of transportation costs, which will affect the profits for one of them related to another. Okay, this is known as market contestability. Which is a threat of entry by other producers. Here once again, this is the consumer A, and this is producer A and producer B, or B and C. Okay, for A, it's better for him to buy from B and not from C, as coal is heavy to carry and transportation cost is going to be much more higher if he is going to buy from C compared to B. So this is considered to be a threat to enter the market. This is considered to be a constraint to enter the market. Okay? Okay, now let's move to the second part of the chapter, which is the market, the energy market, or energy demand and energy supply and market equilibrium. Just like any product, But in this case, demand for energy is a drive demand. You are not going to buy energy to drink energy, for example. No, you have to buy energy to be used in the production of another thing. Even if in home you are going to buy energy sources, say for example coal, to convert it to heat, to convert it to something like that. Just like the demand and supply functions of any product that you have studied in microeconomics. Demand for coal. According to law of demand, there is a negative relationship between price of coal and demand for coal. And as we said, that demand for coal is derived demand, derived from production of another good or something like that. Which means that if you are going to produce more of the final product, you are going to demand more for of coal. If the demand for your final product decreases, so your demand for coal is going to decrease as well. So we can write the demand function for coal as QD, which is the quantity demanded of coal, is a function of price of coal, price of substitutes, price of complements, technology for coal use, price of output produced, and energy policy. And finally, number of buyers. So these are the factors affect demand for coal. So once again, it's affected by price of coal, price of substitutes of coal, price of complements of coal, technology for coal use, price of output produced, energy policy, and finally, number of buyers. What is the relationship between quantity demanded of coal and each one of these factors? According to economic theory, it's expected that as price of coal increases, quantity demanded of coal decreases, which means that there is a negative relationship between price of coal and the quantity demanded of coal. while with respect to the other factors, it's related to demand and not the quantity demanded. Price of substitutes. If price of a substitute increases, say for example, oil increases, as a result, people are going to shift their demand from oil to coal. So demand for coal will increase. So it is a positive relationship. Price of a complement. If a price of a complement increases, say for example, coal boilers. So if price of coal boilers increases, demand for coal will decrease as the demand for the coal boilers is going to decrease as well. So this is a negative relationship. Technology. In case of technology, the relationship is uncertain. Why? Maybe technology is going to increase the productivity of coal. Or maybe the technology is going to increase productivity of any other product, which will affect the demand for coal in this case. So in this case, it's the relationship is uncertain. It can be positive, it can be negative. Price of the output produced. When price of the output produced increases, so this encourages suppliers to supply more of these products, and as a result, their demand for coal is going to increase as well. So the demand for coal is going to increase, and this is a positive relationship. Energy policy. This depends on the policy. If, for example, the government is going to impose restriction on the use of coal, so demand for coal is going to decrease in this case. But if the government is going to give an advantage for the consumers or the production using coal, so in this case, demand for coal is going to increase. Say, for example, the government is going to make subsidies for coal users or coal producers. So in this case, the demand for coal is going to increase. So in this case, this depends on the policy. Whether this policy is in favor of using of coal or against the use of coal. Finally, number of buyers. As number of buyers of coal increases, demand for coal is going to increase as well. So if you would like to illustrate this graphical, this is quantity demanded and this is the price of coal. As we said, there is a negative relationship between price and the quantity demanded. So this is the demand curve of coal. If there is a change in the price of coal, from B1 to B2, this means that we are going to move from point A to point B on the same line. This is movement along the curve. Movement along the curve occurs if the price of the product itself is going to change. The price of coal itself is going to change. Okay, what about the shift of the demand curve? As we said, that if price of substitute increases, price of oil or natural gas increases, so people are going to shift their demand from natural gas to coal, and as a result, demand for coal is going to increase, and the demand curve is going to shift to the right. The same for all other factors. So price of coal cause a movement along, and any other factor cause a shift in the demand curve. If we write demand function as QD equal 100 minus 2BC plus 3BSP minus 4BCM plus 0.10Y. What this mean? QD is the quantity demanded, and 100 is the value of QD when all variables equal 0. By the word all variables, we mean BC, BSP, BCM, Y, which means all variables included in the equation. Negative sign stands for the negative relationship between price of coal and the demand for coal. 2, this means if price of coal increases by 1, quantity demanded decreases due to the negative sign by 2. And then positive relationship between price of substitute and demand. So this means if price of a substitute increase by 1, demand for coal increase by 3 units, which is the value of the slope. And next, negative relationship between price of complement and the demand for coal. If price of complement increases by 1, demand for coal decreases by 4. And finally, Y, for example, which is a measure of the economic activity. So there is a positive relationship between an increase in economic activity and the demand for coal. So in this case, if economic activity increases by 1, demand for coal increase by 0.1 units. So this is the demand function for coal. So in our lecture today, we talked about why coal is a perfect competitive market, the demand for coal, and the demand function of coal, what are the factors that affect the demand, and what is the factors that cause a movement along the curve, and what's the meaning of each number in the demand function. Thank you, and this is the end of our lecture today. Thank you.